Welcome back, Foxy Games UK new and existing subscribers. It is Friday, April 17. Now, I was hoping to get the final runtime of this video to around 10 minutes, but given the deluge of information, that's not been possible regardless. The whole news and nothing but the news must be delivered, so we'll see where we end up, won't we? In today's news, getting the slightly smaller stuff out of the way, sourced via our friends over at PlayStationUniverse.com, Sony has released a brand new system firmware update, 7.50 for PS4 platforms. Now, the update is out of early beta testing and is only 471 megabytes in size, made available just yesterday to all PS4 users. Now, I literally updated my PS4 Pro just prior to uploading this video, and a bunch of friend requests I have yet to vet and filter, but I'll get on it. Thanks for your patience. Now, it appears firmware 7.50 allows for a new HDMI standard, which enables the use of the latest HDMI technology, additionally offering the usual improvements to system performance and security. In other news, PlayStationUniverse.com has also reported the first-person shooter classic Crysis, stopping short of a full remake, which seems to be the trend these days, is to receive quite a significant remaster. Crysis Remastered has been officially announced for multiple platforms: Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PC and PlayStation 4. Now, what interests me most is that Crysis on PlayStation 4 platforms will use software-based ray tracing. Here's the full story. So yeah, shortly after being pretty much leaked all over social media prior to its official announcement, Crytek has now confirmed Crysis Remastered for the aforementioned platforms, and at some point this year. Now, Crysis Remastered reimagines the 2011 PC first-person shooter with the latest version of Crytek's CryEngine technology, co-developed by Saber Interactive, who somehow performed the unholy miracle of getting The Witcher 3 to run on Nintendo's relatively underpowered Switch console. It's certainly fair to say that Crysis Remastered is in very capable hands. Now, Crysis Remastered will use what's been termed as API Agnostic Ray Tracing, and this was reflected in the official announcement, with Crytek stating that Crysis would use software-based ray tracing on PlayStation 4 systems. Obviously, software-based ray tracing is nowhere near as sophisticated as its hardware-based counterpart, though a software-focused solution still offers users far better results than the standard use of lighting, shadows and reflections. It's a miracle that they've been able to pull this off at all. In fact, some months ago, FDUK reported that Sony were in talks with a third party to provide software-based ray tracing for its current-gen platform, using clever, highly sophisticated algorithms to calculate light rays, for example, and then implement them into the game, similarly to how HDR can be emulated over non-HDR content on most modern Ultra HD panels. Here's what Crytek had to say. Co-developed on CryEngine with Saber Interactive, starting this summer, Crysis Remastered will be available for PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and for Nintendo Switch. Crysis Remastered will focus on the original game's single-player campaigns and is slated to contain high-quality textures and improved art assets, an HD texture pack, temporal anti-aliasing, SSDO, SVOGI, state-of-the-art depth of field, new light settings, motion blur and parallax occlusion mapping, with particle effects also added where applicable. I know, a lot of it means nothing to me also. Now, further additions such as volumetric fog and shafts of light, software-based ray tracing and screen space reflections provide the game with a major visual upgrade. Interesting. Now, it's awesome that they're going to port Crysis Remastered to Nintendo Switch. I mean, Nintendo have really turned things around with third-party publishers. Something like this would never have happened on the company's ill-fated Wii U. Not forgetting ray tracing for both PS4 and PlayStation 5 content. Don't know about you, but that's pretty damn awesome. Now, staying with PlayStationUniverse.com for the time being, it looks like PlayStation 5's PR and reveal plans were severely disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. A bunch of event reveals, announcements, including a studio acquisition and several exclusive to PS5 titles, all had to be put on the back burner. Apparently, even the DualSense controller reveal was hurried. Here's the full story. So the outbreak of COVID-19 has had an obvious effect on all of us and had affected Sony's PlayStation 5 PR and reveal plans to the point that the recent unveiling of the DualSense controller was hurried, according to Bloomberg sources. Now, the report says that Sony may not host a traditional press event for PlayStation 5's console reveal and price point as a result of the pandemic. Furthermore, the format holder also feared that it wouldn't be able to control leaks after sharing the DualSense with outside developers, hence why it was revealed to the public hastily. Now, the PS5 release is currently targeting a holiday 2020 window, something which is unlikely to change unless Microsoft delays the release of the Xbox Series X. Sony hasn't yet showcased the design of the new system, but it has said that it's to do so in the coming months. Now, Sony provided a huge breakdown of PS5's technical specifications just last month, including details of the SSD and backwards compatibility. Now, I and a few others prior to the COVID-19 disruptions were expecting a number of announcements and reveals unknown to the general gaming public. Unfortunately, they did not happen. Many of us took a lot of flack on social media, anything from being accused of lying to having irritating individuals constantly pull up older tweets in an attempt to create some sort of discourse. Now, because, it must have never occurred to those ignorant, self-entitled, self-centered Cadbury's cream walnuts that perhaps, just perhaps, it might have something to do with the global pandemic that is far more concerning, far more important than walnuts getting what they want in a timely fashion. I don't even engage with these people. TikTok, block. So there you have it. Sony Interactive Entertainment had many plans that had really to be put on hold, plans that cannot be executed given the current climate. And Bloomberg.com has gone into more depth regarding Sony PS5's plans. Now, respected industry figures Takashi Mochizuki and Yuki Furukawa wrote an interesting piece for Bloomberg regarding Sony CORP plans to produce far fewer units of its upcoming PlayStation 5 in its first year than it had for the previous generation console's launch, according to people familiar with the project. Now, the Tokyo-based tech giant is limiting its initial production run in part because it expects the PS5's ambitious specs to weigh on demand by leading to a high price at launch, said sources, asking not to be identified because the subject is private. Now, the global pandemic has affected Sony's promotional plans for the new device, but not its production capacity. The company has told assembly partners it would make 5 to 6 million units of the PS5 in the fiscal year ending March 2021, according to other people involved in the machine's supply chain. Now, when Sony released the PlayStation 4 in November 2013, it sold 7.5 million units over its first 2 quarters. The PS5's loftier price tag may also deter initial take-up. The game developers who've been creating titles for the next generation PlayStation anticipate its price to be in the region of around $499 to $549 US. And Bloomberg's Intelligence's Matthew Canterman points to the increased component costs, pushing up the price required for Sony to break even. Sony has struggled with its price-setting decision for PS5 because of scarce components, Bloomberg News has reported. Now, a Sony spokesman declined to comment. Its shares were largely unchanged in afternoon trade, though. Now, Sony's strategy, according to several people familiar with its plans, will rely on incumbent PlayStation 4 models as a bridge to get new users onto the PlayStation platform's network services, while the PS5 remains in limited supply. Currently, Sony sells the PS4 for around $300 US and the higher-end PS4 Pro for around $400. Now, the company may cut these prices around the time of the PS5 launch to stimulate new subscribers for the PlayStation Plus membership program and PlayStation Now game streaming services. Now, Sony's Chief Executive Officer Kenichiro Yoshida has said the company will aim to increase recurring revenue rather than the one-time hardware purchases. The PS5 production volume could still change depending on the pandemic situation. Sony has asked employees to work from home to mitigate the spread of the virus, and its board has been unable to meet 2 approved business plans for the current fiscal year, including those of the PlayStation unit. That meeting was originally supposed to take place back in March. Now, Sony said last month that it plans to release results for the year ended March on April 30 and may be forced to push the date back due to the pandemic. And the virus has already upended Sony's promotional plans. The company may forego hosting a public press conference for its PS5 release date and price unveiling due to infection fears. Recently, it was forced to reveal its DualSense PS5 controller in a hurried fashion, according to people close to the project. While only a small circle within Sony are privy to the appearance of the PS5 console, the controller has been shared with outside developers and the company feared it couldn't control leaks. Still, Sony remains unlikely to delay the launch of the PS5 from the critical year-end shopping season, so long as the arch-rival Microsoft Corp doesn't push back the release of its next-generation Xbox, also expected at the end of the year. Now, Sony won't delay either, the people said. Some analysts believe the close contest for attention between the PlayStation and Xbox, especially in the US, may force both companies to sell their new consoles at a loss. Here's a quote. I think both the PS5 and Xbox Series X may end up at around $450 even though they would lose money at that price, said Damien Thong, an analyst at Macquarie's Capital. Suppliers have started delivering components to PS5 assemblers who are scheduled to begin mass production of the product by June. Sony's PlayStation chief Jim Ryan has stressed that the machine's launch should be simultaneous around the globe, according to people in the company's supply chain. Now, travel restrictions have prevented Sony engineers from flying to China to direct final adjustments before assembly plants go into mass production. Sony's assembly partner had voiced concern just last month about meeting the production deadline. However, those worries have since been abated and it should now be able to meet Sony's requested schedule, people familiar with the discussions have commented. Now, on the software front, Sony has publicly warned that the pandemic may affect the game production pipeline for titles destined for its next console, which is a problem the entire industry is grappling with. And that's where the article ends. Yeah, interesting stuff, and it certainly helps to clear up a lot of the confusion surrounding PS5 launch plans and puts things firmly into perspective. So, Sony Interactive Entertainment are reportedly manufacturing just 5 to 6 million units over 2 fiscal quarters with an expected price point of around 399 GBP and 449 USD respectively. Which tells us that if you're one of those who absolutely must have a PS5 on launch day, you'd better have that trigger finger ready to pre-order as soon as it goes live. PS5 is going to completely sell out within 24 hours of availability, which could potentially mean that its first run, or allocation if you prefer, could completely sell out within minutes of availability. I'd expect a restock every 2 to say 3 weeks during the first 3, maybe 4 months of its launch window, and again, supplies will be severely limited, probably in order of where you are queued on the sorry you're still waiting list. Now, as indicated in the Bloomberg article, the 3 most logical reasons Sony Interactive Entertainment really produces less PS5 units, that's the 5 million plus, for its launch window is: 1. Component availability is severely limited. 2. Sony forecast a poor economic climate. And 3. PS5's price point is a barrier for early adopters. Now, ironically, if Microsoft is able to produce more Xbox Series X units, it could actually outsell Sony's PS5 in the short term, which would be odd, though indeed it is little more than industry speculation until officially confirmed. Yet I find my curiosity regarding Xbox Series X and PS5 hardware has peaked and is satisfied. I most look forward to all of those amazing next-gen game reveals, trailers and previews lining up to shock and awe the discerning gaming public. I look forward to the next 90 days, meaning May, June and July, since those months are going to be very significant for both PS5 and Xbox SX in terms of new reveals. Numerous digital-only events have been planned and are prepped by Sony and Microsoft that promises to blow our collective minds. Everything I've heard points to a real battle for your hard-earned money. High-quality, highly anticipated AAA games are coming to next-gen platforms PS5 and Xbox Series X, and finally, Sony Interactive Entertainment's worldwide studios has some stiff competition next gen, in that I've been made aware that, so far, unannounced Xbox Game Studios IP are being prepped to wow gamers. In fact, I tweeted a poll a day or so before the Bloomberg PS5 revelation, and the poll was titled, Supply is expected to be limited, so if you could pick only one of the following console platforms this holiday, which one would you choose first? Now, I want to thank all those who participated, as an astonishing 6,146 votes were counted, a new milestone for Foxy Games UK. Here are the results. So Nintendo Switch took 5.5% of votes, Xbox Series X took 13.7%, and PS5 took the lion's share with a whopping 79% of the overall vote. And comical inclusion of the PlayStation 1 Classic console took around 1.7%, which is surprising to say the least. Now, some will say that the Foxy Games UK Twitter account is biased due to the abundance of PlayStation users who follow and watch the FGUK YouTube channel, for instance. Therefore, any result would be skewed. Well, a fair point, but that doesn't explain why just about every other poll conducted by platform-neutral sites, such as IGN, GameSpot and others, have PS5 ahead by significant margins in their own polls. Do I prefer PlayStation? Absolutely, but it has little to do with the hardware itself and more to do with the standard and quality I expect for my money. Suffice to say, PlayStation has more than delivered on that front in terms of those AAA games. So, I am prepared to give Microsoft benefit of doubt with Xbox Series X, mainly because of its renewed commitment and investment in Xbox Game Studios. Still, it's just a poll based off of a fairly small sample. I mean, I run a comparatively tiny YouTube channel with an even smaller Twitter presence, so I guess it is what it is. Though, what say you? Go ahead, sound off, share your thoughts and opinions on today's news, because that unfortunately brings us to the end of another video, but let's continue the discussion cordially in the comments. And for all your current and next gen news updates, rumour and rampant speculation, hit the like button, spread the word, and keep it locked to Foxy Games UK. Remember, relevant links are applicable can be found in this video's description. Subscribe to Foxy Games UK, remember to hit the notification bell so you never miss content, thumbs up if you like it here, and help us reach more like-minded gamers simply by sharing this video. Consider supporting Foxy Games UK via Patreon, and or grab yourself a Foxy Games UK branded t-shirt or hoodie, available in various colours and designs. You'll find both links in the video's description. Truly appreciate the support. All proceeds go to COVID-19 relief. And that concludes our time together today. Certainly great hanging out. Enjoy your weekend. And until the next video, remember, play games, not corporations.